What's up, guys? I'm here in St. Pete, Florida at Strength Camp with Overtime athletes Chris Bernard, and he's going to talk a little bit about the 60-yard dash, the start, and everything. And he trains a lot of pro baseball players on how to be faster, and there's going to be some great info. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So really, when it comes to the 60-yard dash, I say you guys got to obviously understand the importance of the 60-yard dash and realize that if you go to a showcase, this can make or break you. A lot of guys at that level are looking for speed, especially when you start getting into, you start getting looked at as far as getting drafted, things of that nature. So a couple things that I'm looking for is, obviously when I start off, is I'm looking at the stance. So the biggest mistake that I see guys make is the stance and their takeoff from the stance. In fact, when I work with a lot of my guys, especially if we're saying, hey, I have a showcase in a month or so, the biggest thing I'm gonna work on is your first 10 yards, your first 5 to 10 yards. Because if I can increase your acceleration, right? If I can knock your 10 yard down from say a 1.6 to a 1.5 in as little as 2 to 3 sessions, that's over 60 yards. That's 3-4 yards. You get what I'm saying? So the biggest thing that I'm trying to focus on is that 10, and it starts with the stance. So starting off with the stance, the biggest thing that I want to do is I want to get relaxed. I want to have enough width in my legs. Some guys like to come a little bit narrow. Some guys like to come a little bit wider. I like to start off right outside shoulder width. First thing with my lead leg is I want to open it up 45 degrees. So what you'll see is my hip is open 45 degrees. I don't want to close it off, because then what's going to happen is I'm going to create an inefficient movement by having to go 2 steps. So immediately I start with 45 degrees. I'm coming right diagonally as I start on the stance. Next thing you know, my back leg, I'm going to go about half the distance over my front leg. So if you can see, I go about half and I set up. The reason being is because I want to load this hip and explode this way in one motion, as opposed to coming back here and having to circle and swing my body back around. So that's the stance right there. So I'm coming about half, opening up my front leg, coming half here. Next, it's gonna come to loading my hips. A lot of guys like to come shoulders over, and when you come shoulders over, what happens is you have to come in a more swinging motion. I want to load my hips and create as efficient movement as possible by going straight, by loading my hips and staying back a little bit on my heels. So I'm actually coming here and my shoulders actually right over my kneecaps. From here, I'm gonna go ahead and place my arm placement. My arm placement, I'm just gonna have this arm slightly down and I'm focusing on this elbow driving back. This one, I like to say, put it in your holster. So it's just gonna be right in your front pocket. You wanna keep this one here. Now I'm relaxed in this position. This hip is loaded and I'm ready to explode out. From here, my first motion is I tell my guys, dive into the pool. And essentially what that means is we want to put them in acceleration phase. Acceleration phase is essentially where we're getting our shoulders out front and we're able to apply force back into the ground, as opposed to standing straight up and cycling like you're on a bicycle. So the biggest thing I want to do is I want to utilize both my legs to get out front as fast as I possibly can. You're much more powerful with both legs than you are with just a single leg. So again, we want to set up here and we want to dive into the pool. So I'm utilizing both my legs and getting my shoulders over, so I'm pushing out. With my upper body, as far as my arm swing, I'm focusing here. This elbow drives back and this arm swings forward. This hand right here, I'm focusing on driving it forward as fast as I possibly can. I don't want to over rotate, because then you start to come here and start to swing like this. And what you'll see is guys start coming out and rotating. If you look at it from the front, you're basically coming out like this. This creates inefficient movement. I want to stay straight as I possibly can through the core and exploding forward. Finally, as you get to the next couple steps, I always say tuck your chin and trust your feet. What that means is, even if you're just hitting, or if you're coming off first base or you're a 60-yard dash, right? I want to make sure that you trust your feet. You should be able to see your toe over that kneecap every time. Reason being is we want to apply force into the ground and then be able to do that right into the next step, as opposed to cycling back behind us. If we cycle back behind us, we're not gaining ground going forward. So the biggest thing is to see that toe over that kneecap, and it won't allow you to cycle back here. It allows to apply force forward, going through, and as you start to run, you start to raise up, and you'll start to see about 10 yards where you're just pumping and exploding through the 60-yard dash. If I can increase your stance, like I said, if I can drop your 10-yard dash through your stance and just those simple 5 yards, what's gonna happen is you're gonna see that decrease over the course of 6 yards, and that's basically the way that I teach the 60-yard dash.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Guys, if you aspire to run a sub 760 at your next showcase, you definitely want to check out what Chris has on his channel. I'll leave his information down below, and go check him out because there's some really good stuff over there, man. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Lord knows I'm 50 rich. All insights of life 50 bricks. Rap, throwing hits and fits. I get my bitch statues for a Christmas gift. And my bitch so bad she on my Christmas list. Remember I prayed really, I wish for this. To get the grip with the maid and with the picket fits. I'm with some that mad, we took a risk for this. So